लाइट खाली है.
So today's topic is uh, various parasites, blood parasites, which trouble human beings. So if you go into the various parasites, they usually have one vector or one insect which contains the parasites, which bites human being, and the parasite is sent into the human blood, where it goes into a specific tissue where it spreads, multiplies, and then again is taken up by the insect. So that is how this cycle is complete. As you know, there are various diseases which are caused by the parasites. Commonly, the commonest is malaria. Others are filariasis, which is caused by a mosquito. Then there are other parasitic infections like babesiosis, which doesn't usually seen in not usually seen in India. Trypanosomiasis, commonly found in Africa, which causes sleeping sickness. Leishmaniasis, caused by leishmania, and is commonly found in West Bengal. So to start with, we'll go into malaria. Now, as you know, malaria is a very common disease which is found throughout India and most of the parts of the world. It is caused by a bite of Anopheles mosquito. The patient usually presents with fever. So many of the patients, almost many of the patients uh, in our area who present to us with fever, the initial diagnosis which is to be ruled out is malaria. So this topic we will cover under its life cycle, various types of malarial parasites, what is the clinical picture of the patient, what is the pathogenesis, what are the lab findings, what is the significance of G6PD, and what is rapid malaria test. As you know, it is caused by a parasite called as Plasmodium. There are 4 types of Plasmodium parasites which are found. The commonest is Plasmodium vivax. The most dangerous is Plasmodium falciparum. The other two, Plasmodium ovale and Plasmodium malariae, these are not commonly found in India. So we are more concerned about Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium falciparum. The life cycle of the parasite starts with Anopheles, female Anopheles mosquito. Now this female Anopheles mosquito has tiny parasites in its salivary gland. It bites human being on the skin. The parasites are thrown into blood stream of human being under the skin. They travel to liver. In liver they reproduce and multiply. Now these are again liberated into human blood, where they attack now red blood cells, RBCs. They get attached, they break into RBCs, they multiply in the RBCs. These are called as merozoites. These merozoites, they multiply in RBCs. As a result, the RBC ruptures and parasites are liberated freely into blood, again attacking other RBCs. Thus, there is multiplication, rapid multiplication of parasites, a rapid rupture of RBCs. With each rupture, patient experiences fever, chills, and rigors. Again, these parasites move into liver and the cycle goes on. Now, some of these merozoites, they mature, they don't go into the liver and get developed into gametes or gametocytes. There are two types of gametocytes, male and female gametes. After union, they form zygote. Now, this zygote forms oocyst, which is taken up by the mosquito, and in mosquito the oocyst ruptures to give rise to multiple parasites, which now block salivary gland of the mosquito, which ultimately bites human being. That is how the life cycle is complete. So as you can see, human being gets symptoms because of rupture of RBCs which are attacked by the parasite. So with each rupture, the patient experiences fever, chills, and rigors. The fever is at times very high, up to 106 degree Fahrenheit. The clinical picture of the patient is dominated by fever, malaise, weakness, body ache, signs and symptoms of anemia, that is decrease in hemoglobin percentage. As a result, patient feels weak. Because of repeated rupture of RBCs, the hemoglobin is liberated into blood. This hemoglobin is rapidly converted into bilirubin, and as a result, patient experiences jaundice, that is yellow color of urine and sclera. So that is how the patient has fever, anemia, jaundice. The patient also presents with enlargement of spleen, enlargement of liver. In case of the parasite Plasmodium falciparum, the patient may have a complication known as cerebral malaria, which is most dangerous, and almost even with treatment, 20% of the patients, they die. So what happens with this cerebral malaria? There is altered consciousness, there is consumption of many of the platelets. Patient ultimately becomes unconscious, and if not treated properly, dies. So this is cerebral malaria and is characteristic of Plasmodium falciparum. So in most of the cases, the patient has acute type of infection, gets treated, and the malarial infection subsides. But in endemic areas where the parasitic and mosquito population is very high, the disease stays for a longer time. The patient has repeated attacks, repeated infections. As a result, patient will have chronic malaria. So the malaria can be divided into acute malaria and chronic malaria. Chronic malaria the patient has repeated attacks. Now in these patients, the liver and spleen, they get enlarged. The spleen gets enlarged to a very large extent. This also is called as tropical splenomegaly. In some patients, kidney is also affected. There is hematuria, and patient can get black colored urine. So these are the symptoms, clinical picture of the malaria. How to diagnose this? Malaria can be easily diagnosed by examination of patient's blood. There are two tests which are available nowadays. One is called as rapid malaria test, in which there is a strip. Now this strip is coated with a proper material, antigen, and strip is coated with antibodies, and it detects malarial antigen, and the test can be done within 10 to 15 minutes with whole blood. So what you get is either a positive result or a negative result. This is a rapid malaria test, and very important where the pathologists are not available. The most dependent or reliable test is examination of peripheral smear, peripheral blood, in which thick and thin smears are taken from the patient, and they are stained with Romanowski stains, in which after examination under low, high and oil immersion, we can detect presence or absence of malarial parasites. Now this slide shows the life cycle of malarial parasite, in which you can see Anopheles mosquito biting human skin, the parasites getting liberated into blood, entering hepatocytes, liver, again multiplying into merozoites which are attacking RBCs, getting multiplied inside RBCs, RBCs getting ruptured, few of them forming male and female gametocytes which are taken up by another mosquito, in the mosquito forming zygotes, oocyst getting ruptured to form sporozoites in salivary gland of mosquito, and again the mosquito completing the life cycle. So that is a life cycle of malarial parasite. Now these four pictures, they show peripheral smears of a patient of malaria. Now the upper left is a high power view of peripheral smear, in which you are seeing multiple parasites, many RBCs are affected. One RBC is containing more than one parasite. Now these parasites are in the form of ring, and each ring has more than 2 red dots. So these are called as ring forms of parasite or Plasmodium. Now these specific rings are rings of Plasmodium falciparum. How to differentiate this from Plasmodium vivax? Plasmodium falciparum is characterized by rings which are even in thickness. Second important point is it has more than one pink spots, pink dots, and number of rings in one RBC are more than 1 in case of Plasmodium falciparum. So that is how you can differentiate it from Plasmodium vivax. The lower left peripheral smear shows two free banana shaped gametes. One is male gamete and the other is female gamete. So in a patient of Plasmodium falciparum, you can detect a banana shaped gametocyte or ring forms. Now these are the smears showing Plasmodium vivax infection. As you can note, one RBC has only one ring form. So this is the difference between vivax and falciparum. In case of falciparum, one RBC may contain more than one ring form. Another difference is the gamete, the ring form is slightly larger. The dot is also slightly larger and it is always single. In case of Plasmodium falciparum, you may get multiple dots. And the ring is not evenly thick. So in case of Plasmodium vivax, you get single ring form in a single RBC, or you may get chasons. These chasons, they enlarge the RBC. They are in the form of multiple parasites in a RBC along with brownish colored pigment. So that is how you can identify a chasson. The other laboratory findings in case of malarial parasite is high levels of serum bilirubin, mild derangement of liver enzymes, and sometimes if the kidneys are affected, the patient may have high urea and creatinine levels. If you examine the urine of the patient may have mild albuminuria and presence of hemoglobin and few RBCs in its urine. So that is about the malarial parasite, malaria and laboratory diagnosis. One important point you should know is the significance of G6PD. So G6PD is a chemical which is present in RBC of the patient. In malaria, the patient is given chloroquine and primaquine. These are the drugs. Now, if the patient has G6PD deficiency, then this patient, after receiving these drugs, will have severe attacks of hemolysis. This is a very dreaded condition, and for that, before giving patient antimalarial drug, you should test for presence of G6PD. If G6PD is deficient, then the patient is not given these typical drugs, other drugs are given. So a G6PD deficient patient is susceptible for severe hemolysis. This point you should note. Then we come to another blood parasite known as, and the disease which is caused by these parasites or group of parasites is known as filariasis. Somebody of you must have seen the patients of filariasis. The patient has very large, enlarged extremities, large legs, and this condition is called as elephantiasis, in which the skin, subcutaneous tissue and the limb, they get thickened and enlarged. The skin becomes rough. Sometimes the genital organs, especially scrotum, they also get enlarged. Now what is the cause? The cause is there is blockage of lymphatic system by these parasites, and as a result the skin, subcutaneous tissue, they get thick, fibrosed, and as a result there is enlargement of the extremities and genital organs. Now what are the various parasites? There are three common parasites: Brugia malai, Wuchereria bancrofti. These are commonly found parasites. This slide shows typical life cycle of Brugia malai, in which the infestation or infection starts with a bite of mosquito. The filarial parasite is injected subcutaneously. It travels to the lymphatics, where it matures, multiplies to form male and female parasite. Now here they produce sheathed microfilaria which enter the bloodstream. After a bite of another bite of mosquito, the microfilaria shed their sheath, penetrate into mosquito's midgut. There is formation of another larva which again migrates to head of the mosquito, proboscis, and it bites the human being. So that is how the life cycle of Brugia malai continues. So the target organ here is lymphatic vessels. Now this is the peripheral smear of a patient of filariasis. For getting the microfilaria caught in peripheral smear, you have to take blood from the patient in the night, because there are more chances of getting these microfilaria in the peripheral blood. The patient will have these larvae with multiple nuclei. It is an elongated structure residing amongst the RBCs. The patient also sometimes has eosinophilia. So these larvae, they can be caught in peripheral smear or lymphatics or in body cavity fluids. So in case of body cavity fluids, there is centrifugation of the fluid and the deposits. If you see under the microscope, there are chances that you may get microfilaria. So this is a picture of patient of elephantiasis. Both the lower extremities are affected. You can see they are irregular. The organs are, the skin and subcutaneous tissue are enlarged, thick and irregular, badly looking. So this is because of the blockage of lymphatics. So that is about the common parasites which affect human beings. The other parasites like Babesia or Trypanosoma, that will not be concluding today.